Assassin's Creed Black Flag is back, rebuilt on the same engine that gave us AC Shadows. And before you assume your laptop can actually handle it, there are 4 things hidden in plain sight in this spec sheet that almost nobody is talking about. Number 1 is going to surprise you. Let's go. On paper, the requirements look reasonable. RTX 3060 for 1080p 60, RTX 3080 for 1440p 60, but the number one thing every single tier, including the minimum, has is ray tracing enabled. Standard ray tracing at the bottom and extended ray tracing at the top. That changes everything. So basically, you cannot skip ray tracing even if you wanted to. The second thing, at minimum settings, the 2 GPUs listed are a 1660 and a RX 5500 XT. Neither of those cards has ray tracing hardware. So Ubisoft is running a software based ray tracing at minimum, something similar to Lumen from UE5. They've even listed it as a feature, software based ray tracing or pre-computed lighting, which means if you have a low-end system like a RTX 4050 laptop or a 3060 laptop and you're struggling with performance, you can potentially drop to software RT and the game should still look reasonably close. That's literally what the minimum specs is doing anyways, and you can get more FPS. That's actually a useful escape hatch that nobody is going to tell you about. Now the game hasn't released yet, so I can't give you direct benchmark numbers, but what I can do is use AC Shadows as a reference point. Same Anvil engine, same lighting, same architecture, same upscaling stack. Black Flag has 2 RT modes, standard ray tracing and extended ray tracing. Based on how Shadows behaved, extended is almost certainly doing what diffused everywhere did in Shadows, full BVH coverage across the entire world. And in Shadows, that costs around 20 to 30% performance depending on the BVH quality you are using, high, medium or low. I could be wrong. The world geometry here is simpler. Open oceans, Caribbean islands versus dense feudal Japan jungles and towns. So the penalty might be smaller, but the architecture is the same. I'll update this one once the game is out, but the engine doesn't lie. Point number 3, and this is the one that actually worries me the most about this game on laptops, and that is VRAM. Look at the extreme tier, 4090 with 24GB, 7900 XTX with 24GB. Notice what's missing? No RTX 5080, no 5070 Ti, no RX 9700 XT. Those cards exist. The 5080 is faster than 7900 XTX in most games. The 9070 is roughly similar, but Ubisoft didn't list them for their highest presets. The only logical reason, extended ray tracing at 4K Ultra even with DLSS is pushing close to or beyond 16GB of VRAM. So they went straight for 24GB cards. For laptops, this is important. Your 5070 has 8GB of VRAM. The 5060 laptop, the 4070 laptop, all of them, the 5050 have 8GB of VRAM. Extended ray tracing even at 1080p with DLSS on these cards is probably not just a performance problem, it could be a VRAM wall. And if Shadows is anything to go by, exceeding VRAM on this engine doesn't just drop frames, it stutters catastrophically. The fix that worked in Shadows and will almost certainly work here is setting texture streaming pool to medium on 8GB cards. This single setting can save you from the worst of it. Point number 4, and this is more of an honest opinion than hard data. Without extended RT, the game might look a bit flat. Caribbean waters, sunlight, ships, reflections. These are exactly the things ray tracing makes look incredible. But Ubisoft has specifically mentioned pre-computed lighting and software-based ray tracing as features of the engine. So there is a baked fallback system underneath. This isn't a game that goes dark without full RT. And honestly, I still have real concerns here. In Shadows, the game looks noticeably flat when you're not using diffused everywhere under BVH. That's not speculation. Go check it yourself if you have the game. Black Flag could have the same problem. How good it looks, only time will tell, but at least the safety net is there. Okay, so with all of the context, here's what each laptop tier is actually looking at. Entry tier 4050 3060 laptop, 1080p low to medium, DLSS on, standard RT only, and honestly software RT is probably fine here anyways. Frame generation will help, but you need to hit 45 to 50 fps base or it will feel sluggish. This is a playable experience, just not a pretty one. Now mid-tier 4060 5060 laptops, 1080p medium to high, DLSS quality or balance, standard RT. This is actually a solid experience, and here's why. At 1080p with DLSS quality or balance, the transformer model means image quality is dramatically better than older DLSS versions. Especially preset M versus preset K is not a small difference, and dynamic resolution scaling on top and locked 60 becomes very achievable. 8GB VRAM, set textures to medium and don't touch extended RT. So now we come to the sweet spot, 5060 4070 laptop. This is where it gets interesting. In my testing, the 5060 handles 1440p quality at nearly mid 40s to 50 fps in shadows. So for Black Flag, a solid 60 fps at 1080p high or 1440p medium with DLSS quality or balance is a very safe bet. Standard RT only, 8GB validated by the spec sheet itself for recommended tier. Frame gen if you need headroom, but base performance should be enough to make frame gen feel smooth. And here's the secret sauce on the 5060 or 4070 laptop. Because we are swapping dense Japanese forest for the open Caribbean seas and beaches, your 1% lows will be much more stable. Ship combat might look intense, but it is actually less taxing on the engine than a crowded village. Smooth stutter-free experience. Now high tier 5070 laptop, 1440p high, DLSS quality or balance is the target, probably achievable with standard RT. Extended RT at 1440p may be possible, but because it has only 8GB of VRAM, you'll hit the VRAM ceiling even before you hit the GPU ceiling. This is the most interesting card to watch when real benchmarks come out, because on paper it should handle more than what its VRAM actually allows. Handheld ROG Ally Z1 Extreme. The game specifically lists dedicated handheld presets. That's not something most PCs do, and it matters. The last one that did that was Crimson Desert, I think. FSR plus frame generation is the combination, same formula as shadows, low presets, performance or ultra performance upscaling, frame gen enabled. The lighter geometry of Black Flag versus shadows should give the Z1 Extreme a bit more breathing room. 900p with FSR and frame gen is the target, and we'll test it when it comes out. The CPU is actually a good news. One thing that's not going to be a problem, CPU. The spec sheet tops out at Core i7 2700K and Ryzen 7 5700X3D. A 14650HX level CPU can net you 60 FPS comfortably in most of these settings. CPU is not your bottleneck in this game on the modern laptops. Your GPU and VRAM are doing all the heavy lifting in this game. So here's the reality. Black Flag Resynced is a game that hides how demanding it is really. The pirate aesthetic, the open seas, the relatively clean visuals, none of it screams heavy hitters, but underneath mandatory ray tracing at every tier, a potential VRAM wall at the top end and the mid end, and an engine that punishes you when you go over budget. I think it's not badly optimized, but it's just honest about modern rendering costs. Get the settings right, especially that texture pool, and it'll run beautifully. Get them wrong and you'll wonder why your expensive laptop is stuttering in a 2013 game remake.